The Raptors take a commanding 3-1 series lead over the Orlando Magic, and get this, that is the first time in franchise history that the Toronto Raptors have taken a 3-1 series lead at any point. Tells you how tight of series almost everyone has been for the Raptors organization since 96. Or 95 or whatnot. This team has played in tight series all the time, and finally, it took long enough, but and we kind of expected this, the Raptors are up 3-1 in the series against the Orlando Magic with convincing 107-85 whomping of the Orlando Magic down in Orlando. And guys, you look at these two games in yeah, the Raptors are up 3-1, but the thing I look at, right, and the thing that I keep an eye on, and I love watching with this team, is the way they perform on the road. Look, we know the Raptors are a great, great home team. We know they can win at home at will if they want, which they do. But on the road, the Raptors were one of the better teams in the league when it comes to their road record. Now, look, in last game, yes, there was a tight game. They only won by 5, but for the most part, they were up by 15 in that third quarter, and they were up by 14 in the fourth quarter. They were kind of cruising, and then they kind of hit a brick wall, and Orlando came back and made it close. But you look at today's game. In a must-win for the Orlando Magic, the Raptors shut them down. They dominate them. They outplay them. They just outschool the Orlando Magic. You look at the first quarter, and the Orlando Magic came out actually pretty good. They had a pretty good lead early on, but the Raptors then came back and were like, "Yeah, this is our game. Take it easy, fellas." Raptors win the first quarter 28-26. They continue that momentum into the second quarter, where the defense digs in, and you only allow 16 points in the second quarter. So the Raptors combined the first and second quarter defense, they only allowed 42 points. Anytime you can allow under 50, I think you had a pretty good quarter. But the Raptors, not only did they score 58, they only got 42. The defense was incredible. You're up by 16 at the break. You're feeling great. Now, you go to the third quarter, and Orlando gives you a little bit of a punch back, including Terrence Ross hitting a big shot at the buzzer at the end of the third quarter to make it a 12-point game. But you still have a 12-point lead going into the fourth quarter, which you should win, even though it's on the road and they need this win and blah, blah, blah. The Raptors are a much better team, and they should take care of business in the fourth quarter. And they did just that. They only allow 15 points in the fourth quarter. You combine the second to the fourth quarter, they allowed 31 points in the second and fourth quarter. That is straight up dominance. They didn't allow 30 points in a quarter at all. They were straight up dynamite on the defensive end. Meanwhile, the Raptors scored 25 in the fourth quarter, plus 10. Do the math, you're up by 22. Ball game, you win 107-85. And you look at the last three games, right? Excuse me. Game 2 at Scotiabank Arena, following the 104-101 loss in Game 1, the Raptors only allowed 82 points in Game 2. Game 3, yeah, you only score 98 and you allow them to come back, but they only score 93. And tonight, you only have 85. The Raptors' defense has been incredible in the latter three games of this series. Even in Game 1, only 104 points given up. That's not bad. But your offense wasn't going. You only scored 101, and you lost. But the Raptors, they look to eliminate the Orlando Magic on Tuesday night. And let's run through some percentages here, because the Raptors have been a dynamite team when it comes to shooting from the field. They're one of the better teams in the league when it comes to making their shots. And they make 53% of their shots tonight when you hold Orlando to only 42%. When you got a plus 11 difference in the field goals, you're going to win a lot of games. 3-point shot, the Raptors, they made 4 more threes, and they were 39% from 3. Orlando was only 21% from beyond the arc. The Raptors not only did a good job closing out their shots from 3, Orlando helped by missing some shots, obviously, but the Raptors did an amazing job limiting second chances, just doing it. It was just a fundamentally really good game by the Toronto Raptors. Rebounds were plus 11 in favor of the Raptors, 7-7 in the offensive glass, 23 assists in the ball game, 11 steals to their 7, and 6 blocks to their 2. 14 turnovers for the Raptors, a little bit too high, but that's okay. And 17 for the Orlando Magic. Raptors were plus 14 in the paint. That's where this team works. And that's why all of us were questioning in last video. We're all like, man, this team gets quite a bit of their points from inside the painted area, and they're not getting fouls. So now let's get to this game. The Raptors actually win the free throw battle by 5, 18-13, and the Raptors were 16 of 18 from the free throw line, 89%, whereas they were 10 of 13, 77%. And guys, a crazy stat coming into the game today. There's 16 teams in the playoffs, right? 8 each conference. The Raptors coming into the game were the 16th team in the playoffs in free throw attempts. And as I mentioned not too long ago, the Raptors are one of the best teams in the league at working in the paint. Where do fouls usually occur? In the paint. You look at a team like Philadelphia, who looks like they're going to be a round 2 matchup for the Toronto Raptors. They're the number 1 team in the playoffs when it comes to free throw attempts. I think they're like over 30 a game. And the Raptors are a much better defensive team, obviously, than the Brooklyn Nets, and hopefully they'll actually get respected for that in round 2 once that occurs, because I have utter confidence in this Raptor team. They're not going to win. They're not going to lose 3 straight, especially 2 games at home if Game 7 occurs, which I don't want it to. I want to be over in 5 games, but that's something to look into kind of in the next series once that all shapes up for the Toronto Raptors. But my MVP in today's game, I think everybody's MVP in today's game, is Kawhi Leonard. This guy, I mean, we heard, that he had flu-like symptoms in the last game. That's why he didn't play the greatest and all that stuff. And we come into the game today, we're hearing he's feeling better. And then we watch the game, we're like, okay, we'll be able to tell if he's feeling better. Oh, okay, Kawhi's feeling better. 34 points, 6 boards, a couple dimes, 12 of 20 shooting, 8 of 9 from the line, 2 of 5 from 3, 2 steals, 2 blocks, plus 20 on the floor. Kawhi Leonard was fantastic. Playoff Kawhi is real. And man, are we seeing it firsthand. This guy is incredible. And Pascal Siakam, 16 points, 6 rebounds on 7 of 14 shooting. Something I got to say about Kawhi Leonard going to the line 8 of 9 times. Kawhi Leonard is, we're hearing that he's one of the top 5 players in the game, if not top 7, if people want to really say, oh, he's not top 5. He's top 6 or 7, then, if you're going to argue that much. James Harden went to the line 16 times yesterday. The Raptors team went to the line 18 times today. Kawhi Leonard deserves to be the line a lot more. We were seeing all game today once again. He's getting hacked, slapped, bodied, and there's nothing. And there should have been a continuation in the and 1, but there was no call, and it was called side out of bounds, and we're like, you're nuts. But again, in the end, we won, and I'm not going to complain about things, but seeing Kawhi Leonard do what he did today, incredible. Pascal Siakam, like I said, 16 and 6 on 7 of 14 shooting. Most improved player. Sorry about that, guys. I mean, I know D'Angelo Russell's a pretty good player, but I got in a little bit of an argument here, and we were hearing on the broadcast there today from Jack Armstrong and Matt Devlin talking about the only reason if Pascal does not win most improved player, it's because they don't watch games. They don't watch the Toronto Raptors. They don't watch Pascal Siakam. And I agree with that. That's the only thing you got. Because you look at what Pascal has done. He's become the second option on the second best record in the NBA. The Raptors are about to move on to the second round. Pascal Siakam won the last game for the Toronto Raptors. And then I look at a guy like D'Angelo Russell and I'm like, okay, that's great. He's averaging over 20 a game. What's his shooting percent? Oh, like 43%. That's rough. Pascal's shooting over 50-something%, so that's all right there. D'Angelo Russell, how's his playoff team doing? Oh, not very good against Philly. They're about to get eliminated. Second thing, he has not shot over 45% from the field in any of the 4 games they've played against Philly. Most improved player? Look, I understand if you want to chuck up a ton of shots and get 20 or 30 a game. That's nice. But you're never going to win playoff series by one guy chucking up a ton of shots, shooting a terrible percentage. You look at James Harden yesterday. Yes, he had 14 to 16 from the free throw line, but he shot 3 of 20. But he's James Harden. He'll get the calls of the line, so that's where he makes his money. But for the Toronto Raptors, you don't focus on all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to say my piece on it because I don't really say a whole lot about the most improved player award. But I'm going to make a video if Pascal Siakam does win it. Maybe if he doesn't, I might do a little rage one on it. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But you see guys like, Marc Gasol. He only had 2 points and 6 boards in the game today. Not the greatest, right? You didn't see a whole lot from Marc Gasol on the offensive end. But the defense, the passing, the steals, the active hands, the screens, Marc Gasol is an integral part to this offense. And not a lot of people think that just looking at stats. Lowry, 9 points, 9 boards on 3 of 8 shooting. I think it was like 2 of 5 from 3. 4 steals in the game for Kyle Lowry. Danny Green, 8 points on 3 of 8 shooting. Man, not the greatest night for Danny Green, but that's all right. And seeing the bench pick it up today, they were incredible. Fred VanVleet, 9 points, 4 assists on 2 of 5 shooting. Seeing Norman coming into the game today, the highest player scoring from the bench in the first 3 games of the series was Fred VanVleet in game 1 with 14. Norman Powell, 16 points, 4 boards on 7 of 9 shooting. Serge Ibaka, 13 points, 8 boards on 5 of 6 shooting. They were dynamite off the bench. So yes, you had a guy like Kawhi Leonard knock up 34. And you had Pascal with 16. But then you have those 2 guys off the bench doing what they do. And then you add the defense to what this team has done. Mwah! Beautiful. Just fantastic. And you win by 22 in a playoff game. You can't win any better than that. It's beautiful. All right, so game 5 at Scotiabank Arena, guys, goes on Tuesday, 7 o'clock tip-off there as the Raptors look to eliminate the Orlando Magic and move on to round 2 to take on probably the Philadelphia 76ers. All right, so you know what, guys? That is going to do it for this one. You guys enjoyed this video and you enjoyed the game today. Smack that like button to appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already. Comment down below your MVP. I think we can all agree it's Kawhi Leonard, but if you have another opinion, go right ahead. And your thoughts on the series, possible opponent in Philly, what are your thoughts on that whole spiel before we get into game 2 and all that kind of stuff? Game 5 against Orlando. What are your guys' thoughts on all that stuff? And Evan and I will talk to you guys podcast edition. It's going to be tomorrow evening. All right, link is in the description for the podcast channel and for the podcast itself on iTunes. Twitter is also down below. Follow up, send me a DM, do all that great stuff. And I will talk to you guys Blue Jays edition. It'll be on Tuesday as the Jays welcome back Kevin Pillar to Rogers Center. 7:07 first pitch. Jeff Smarja on the mound for the San Francisco Giants, and Trent Thornton on the mound for the Blue Jays. Like I said, 7:07 first pitch as the Blue Jays look to continue on this nice little roll they're on right now. Even with Matt Shoemaker being done for the season, it's terrible, and you see the emotional video from him. It's absolutely terrible, guys. And as for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they play Game 7 against the Boston Bruins at TD Garden in Boston on Tuesday night as well. It is going to be a ruckus crowd. It's going to be a crazy game, and another Game 7 in Boston. It's probably going to be a 7 o'clock puck drop, maybe an 8 o'clock. We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. All right, as the Leafs look to fend off their demons and beat the Bruins in 7 games, which might be tricky. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out, though. And as for the Toronto Raptors, they look to eliminate the Orlando Magic and move on to round 2 of the playoffs on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock tip-off at Scotiabank Arena. Raptors, Magic, Game 5. Let's eliminate them and move on to round 2, all right? So thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you guys then.